So, hi everyone. This is Conversations with Trish. We have a very special guest here today, and her name is Cordelia Ali. I just want to welcome Cordelia along. She's got some amazing things to share with everyone here today. So, you're going to get so much out of this interview or this conversation. I won't reveal too much. I think what we'll do first, Cordelia, I'd like to welcome you first, and then what I'd like you to do is just share a little bit about your story, your background, and what inspired you to make that transition or make that move into an online business.
Yeah, oh, thank you. What a lovely introduction. Thanks, Trish. So I'm Cordelia and I live in the UK, and I'm a nurse. I obviously wasn't always a nurse. I actually left school at 13 and went into waitressing. I was one of these people that just wanted to get on with it, just wanted to get my teeth stuck in. I didn't want to spend my life preparing for getting my teeth stuck in. So I did. I left school and I went and got myself a job as a waitress when I was 16. But after like a couple of years of doing that, I'd say I completely and utterly hit the wall. To the point where I just couldn't do it anymore. It was so busy. It was just so exhausting. So a friend of mine, she pushed me to go back to college and get my education because I didn't have an education, didn't have any qualifications, nothing. And I went back and got my nursing degree. So I started my nursing course, and this was January 2011. And by the time I finished my nursing course in September 2016, I had 3 children and a husband. I did it all of that within my course.
Wow.
And I got a distinction. So I was pretty proud, actually. That was like the first massive achievement of my life, really. It was big. But then you might think, well, that was 2016 and it's now just the beginning of 2018. Like, why the sudden change after all those years of work? Like, it's 5.5 years of blood, sweat and tears, literally, like 3 children being born. Amongst like having to go out on placements and do all these hours of free labor in order to get my thing signed off. So what it was that I had literally just qualified as a nurse, and I wanted something else. I wanted something. I like the idea of pottering about online. And so I started up a business on eBay, and we were importing ride-on cars from China. And we were selling them on eBay and Amazon, and our own Shopify website. And it was an absolute slog. I absolutely hated it from the word go. Like, literally, the boxes were bigger than me. Like, they were 20 kilos each. I couldn't carry them on my own. I was reliant on my husband to like move the stuff from the shed to the front door. We had this massive shed built in order to house them, which was actually fairly illegal because you're not supposed to run a business from your home premises without paying business taxes, etc., which I wasn't even aware of at the time. And it just, when it came to the point where you want to scale that business, it was impossible. I live in Oxford, which is like one of the most expensive, it's like London prices, really expensive. And so in order to scale, I needed to have 2 containers come instead of 1 from China. And in order to have 2 containers come, I needed to be able to store the stock that was in those containers. And that meant that I needed a warehouse, really, which kind of, 1, took away from the fact that I was going to be working from home. And 2, it basically wouldn't have been feasible. The profit margins were already really small. Anyway, I'm going on now, but it was a slog. I absolutely hated it, to be honest. So I closed that company down, and then I discovered an academy, and the academy was teaching like online business skills. And again, this idea of pottering about online, the idea of all you need is your laptop and an internet connection, and there's no tangible products that you have to put in the post. There's no being tied down waiting for couriers and people to pick things up and drop things off. It's literally just you and the internet. And so that really, really attracted me. And yeah, it's been I describe it as a roller coaster in a hurricane ever since. It's just been that much of an intensely, amazingly crazy journey. Yeah.
I love that, because I think that's the nature of who you are. And when you spoke at the very beginning, you basically said that, you know, you just want to get in. You just want to get in and get things going. Like from you going, you know, from sort of schooling through to do waitressing because you wanted to earn that income. Very similar to my story. It was like dropping out of school at 15. All I wanted to do was just get stuck in, just get in and earn some income, because that was sort of the next step, the next leap for me as well. So it's quite interesting. Do you think that that quality, because to me, you have a lot of grit and determination, and that's such a compliment, because it takes a lot of that for this journey. Would you agree that sort of those earlier years and what you had to do coming out of school, doing what you had to do just to get in, do you think that helped this journey? Is it helping this journey?
Yeah, I mean, I know better than to look back and wish I'd changed things. I know that my whole journey has led me up to this moment right now, obviously, and I think going through certain mindset shifts during this journey with this academy has really helped me to realize that. But it's like, I can honestly say to you that I feel like my whole life was leading up to this moment. And when I say that, I mean, when I look back in hindsight of everything I've been through and everything I've done, and then I look back at what I'm doing now, the skills that I've learned in the past are so transferable. Like, and I'm sure it's the same with a lot of industries, you know, people don't realize how transferable skills are. From a waitress, you know, what did I learn in waitressing? I learned people skills. I learned efficiency. I learned how to prioritize my workload. You know, I learned how to connect with people. I needed to earn tips, right? So I needed to really get onto their level, and that really helped me in my nursing. Like, it really did. It was I was noted as being very quick to be able to make a rapport with the patients, because I knew how to change and adapt myself to get onto their level, whatever that was. I think that also comes from having a dad from a very wealthy background and a mum from a very unwealthy background, and having a massive mix in my family growing up as well, and being around a massive variety of people. But absolutely, the other thing that is totally transferable, as I said a minute ago, is prioritizing workload. A lot of people can't do this. A lot of people, and it shocks me. You know, my husband, who's just walked in and can probably hear this, he can't prioritize his workload. A lot of people can't do it, and it's ingrained in me because of the training that I've been through in nursing, and, you know, even when I was a waitress, that I've got 10 patients. One of them's really sick, and one of them's going to be discharged today. You have to prioritize the sick patient. If you don't do that, it's a matter of life or death. So when you get given your patients in the morning, you have to look through them and you have to go, right, who do I need to see first? You don't go from A to D on the medication round. You go to the guy that's just come out of theatre and he does obs checking and check that he's cool before you go and do your normal routine, etc. So I think that I'm really good at that. And I think those things have definitely set me up for what I'm doing now, because there is a lot to do and it is a lot of hard work. Building a business is, and I think some people feel a bit surprised about this, you know, because there's such a big conception with a you know, get rich quick schemes and stuff, and that's not what this is. This is building an actual real business, you know, and that does take a lot of work and grit, as you say. But so there's a lot of things that need doing. But if you get really clear in your mind of what your priority is, what your goal is, and what the steps you need to take to get to that goal, that's how, you know, it all works out really quickly. And then also the people skills, you know, that's what I love about this business. Like, I am talking to so many incredible people today. This is my fifth call today. I've had 5 calls today, and it's just so amazing that even though I'm on my own in my little loft office, it's I'm not alone. I've got much more of a social life now than I had before.
That's crazy, isn't it? I mean, that's just so amazing and so true, right? I mean, and I bet you they were from different countries around the world.
Absolutely, yeah, exactly. Like global family.
Just amazing. I mean, you're talking to me here in Australia at the moment. You know, you'd be talking to people in America, in the UK. It's amazing.
I had a call with a guy the other day. This was incredible. I love this. So I had a call with a guy the other day, and I didn't know who he was. He was just a guy that was interested in my services, and we'd arranged a call together. I didn't have any information about him. I just knew his name was David, and that this was his Skype address. So we set up this call, and I had this call, and he answered the phone, and it was dark. Like, and I couldn't really see him very well because it was so dark, and it looked a bit like he was sitting in front of a hut or something. Like, there was a lot of wood behind him. I know that much. And I said to him, I can't really see you. Like, is there a light or something? You know, so or whatever. And he moved over to where there was this little light and a lantern in the corner. And he was in Cameroon. And
Wow.
he was talking. Yeah, we were having this amazing conversation. He sells human hair for a living. Really interested in online business.
Wow.
I was so impressed with him. Like, he was really young, really entrepreneurial. He's got his own YouTube channel. I checked it out. I got a load of people to subscribe to it. And yeah, it was really amazing. This is what I'm saying. Like, I was just sat there mind blown. Like, I'm just sat in my living room on a boring Thursday evening, and I don't watch the TV anymore. I don't have time for it. Not because I wish I could watch it and I don't have time for it, because it doesn't fit anywhere in my exciting life. Like, at all. And so I'm like, Thursday evening, I'm sat talking to this guy in Cameroon, and I'm sat there going, this is amazing. Like, I'm just sat here chatting to a guy like that would never normally cross my path in normal life. Like, he just wouldn't. Like, how would he?
It's brilliant.
And then his dad came out and wanted to see, like, who's this English girl you're talking to? And I was talking to his dad, and yeah, it was pretty cool.
It's amazing. It just brings worlds together, doesn't it? It brings countries together. It's just such a small world. And when they talk about that, it's such a small world. This is it. When you create an online business like this and you're connecting with people. I mean, here I am in Australia. Here you are over in the UK. We're halfway across the world. It takes 24 hours to fly there. And here we are in each other's lounge room, just chatting away to each other. And this is the extent of the business. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Like, but it's what it's all about. And to be honest, like, if I was to be honest with you and tell you why is it that I want to leave nursing now, that I had a lot of guilt at the beginning. I felt quite guilty. The NHS is a free health service in England, and I have a lot of love for the NHS. It gives a lot, and it's great to be a part of that. The pay is really, really poor because obviously it's a public service, and there are nurses in the UK that are actually eating out of food banks. Can you imagine that?
Wow.
Nurses, like, one of the most, you need to really,
wow.
You need nurses. We can't run a country without nurses. And we've got our nurses in the UK going to food banks to get free food because they cannot afford to pay the bills because the pay is so poor.
Wow.
But that's not primarily the reason. The reason why I'm leaving nursing to focus on this is because I had a bit of a breakthrough, which was that life doesn't have to be so hard. Actually, we think it does. We put all these massive things in our head. You have to work really hard for money. You have to work really hard in our jobs. And I work hard. Like, don't get me wrong, I work really hard, but out of choice. But the human interaction and helping people in a totally different way. Like, you will not believe it. Like, for anybody watching this, you wouldn't believe the positivity in our community compared to the real world. Like, in our Facebook groups, it's like a bubble of positive energy. And then when you step out into the real world and you see the kind of comments that normal posts get, it's actually quite shocking when you're not used to being on that side of the bubble, right?
That's true.
And it's the same everywhere. It's the same in nursing. I went back to do a 13-hour shift a few weeks ago, and there's so much negativity there. And obviously the patients are all, they're in a bad place. It's a really bad time for them. So they're feeling really down. You get the odd patient that's not, but the majority of people are going to be feeling pretty rough when they're in hospital. Same with the relatives. They're all very anxious, all very worried. And then you get the staff kind of, bickering at each other and digging at each other and stuff. And it's not always like that, but it's a much more negative environment than helping people in this space. And I feel like I've discovered a whole new space in which to really help people to transform their lives, and also people that are ready to make change. I mean, the amount of people that we have in the hospital that have come in for drug related issues, alcohol related issues, you know, smoking related issues, all these things. But sometimes you just don't have enough time and enough resources to really make a difference for these people. And it does feel like you're just patching them up and sending them on their way.
That's a great point. That's a great point. That's a great point you've raised, because it's about how far along the spectrum are you? How ready are you? Have you really had enough of what the world or what your 9 to 5 is serving out to you? Have you had enough of that? And I call it a toxic environment, because sometimes it's not necessarily the service that you're providing. It's the environment that you've got to turn up to in every day. And people that just are not even aware that there are other possibilities or other opportunities out there. And I think that how far along, and I think people listening to this will be well far along the spectrum, looking, thinking, is there something better? Is there another way? Is there a way of being able to do what I want to do with my lifestyle and my future? You're spot on with that. It's incredible. And I think that the message too for people, because you highlighted something really important, it's those soft skills. It's those soft skills that we learn throughout our whole career, our whole life, that leads you to this event where you are today, that being an online business. And all of those soft skills you've actually collected and created. Because people say to me, well, what can I do online? What is it that how can I serve? It might be an accountant like me, and you think, I just don't want to go back there ever again. I just don't want to be doing that. And they say, and if they're an accountant, they say, well, what can I provide? What service can I provide? You can service so many people around the world with your story and with your experience and with your background. And then keeping in mind, there are other services that you can provide, other people's services that you can provide as well. But it's those soft skills that are so important, which you're highlighting.
Absolutely. I remember looking back to before I found this community and this academy. Like, I had no idea. I knew that I wanted to do something online, but like you said, like, I'm a nurse. Like, this isn't like I'm not business minded. I don't know anything about anything. Like, I'd built a website before for my previous business, and I'm willing to learn, and I'm a quick learner, and I'll give anything a go. But what? Like, and I remember I was Google searching what kind of online business I could run. And I remember thinking, like, I was seeing stuff like business consultant. Well, I can't see me as a business consultant. And then I was thinking, seeing web design and seeing social media management and all this stuff. And the thing is, it's so overwhelming because you don't have a clue about any of this stuff. So how do you pick a subject and go alone in a digital space and just do it? Like, it's that thought in itself is so overwhelming. It's like setting up a shop in the desert, and hoping you're going to get customers. And without the right mentorship and the right education, it's virtually, it's not impossible. Like, it's not impossible, but it's very, very hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I can give you an example. This week, I have been moving my website over to a new hosting, and I've been setting up a landing page and a very, up and coming funnel creator, and it's quite technical. And I was on a Zoom call just like this one with Gavin, a friend of mine, and I had it minimized so I could see my screen, and we're just there, and it's like we're in an office together. It's like we're working together. We're in the room together.
That's great.
And I had it minimized, and we were, and like, he was doing a landing page too, and I was doing a landing page. So it's like, oh, how did you move that over there? And I'm like, oh, I'll just show you. And I share my screen, and I show him, oh, thank you, and whatever. And then I'm like, oh, what do you think of this? Do you think it needs to, and to sit, I know what it's like. I know what it's like to sit in my room on my own, try and build the business, try and work out what all of these shipping things mean. When you've got a container coming from China, end up getting charged a £500 surcharge because you didn't understand what this meant and that meant. And constantly like Googling stuff, and it's all very confusing and complicated, and nothing's lay terms, and it's very, very hard. And the most incredible thing that we have here is this community. Like, it is mind-blowing, having so many contacts. It's like I often compare it to the, you know, imagine how it, you know those times when like the washing machine breaks or the electric goes or something, and you think in that moment, damn it, just really wish I knew an electrician right now, wouldn't that be handy? All of a sudden you've got every contact you could possibly imagine in the digital space, like from writers to professional videographers to people that have been in the game for like 20 years.
I know, it's awesome, isn't it? They're all there at your fingertips. You know, you can just reach out. You raise such good points. Being connected, so connected as we are, you know, if you need those skills in that moment, you can literally just post something out there and those skills are there available to you pretty much immediately. It's just incredible. It really is. Absolutely. That's a great thing. What does your week look like, Cordelia? So take this week, for example. What does that look like?
Well, this week's been a bit crazy.
Personally and professionally. Personally as well.
Well, it's like I'm just here. This is my week. This is what I'm doing, and I've got my 3 kids that are just down. I'm in the loft, right? So I've got my 3 kids that are down there asleep in their beds, and it's awesome because I'll wake up on a Monday morning. I haven't got to go anywhere. My husband will do the school run for me because it's much more time efficient for me to just crack on. So he'll do the school run, take the kids to school, and then I've got all up until like 3 o'clock to crack on with a load of work, a massive bulk of work. And, you know, a lot of that time is like pottering downstairs, get a slice of toast or whatever, fancy a cup of tea, come back upstairs. I've got the music on, I'm chilling. We go out once a week as well, try and have date nights as much as possible. And then, you know, the nice thing about it is that, like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that working from home is a peach. Like, it's hard. There are things that come with working from home that you need to get used to. Like being surrounded by mess or having kids climbing all over you and pulling your hair out when you're trying to work. That's why I want to show you my office. Like this, I'm going to show it to you because I have just turned the loft recently into my little space. And isn't that cute? Cool. I mean, it's so tiny. It looks a little bit like a cupboard.
Very cool. It's great though.
It's my space, and
awesome.
the kids can't get in. So the nice thing about it is that I can pop downstairs and play bricks with my 2-year-old for 10 minutes and then come back upstairs again. When I was working as a nurse, I was out before they woke up and I was back after they went to bed. And I'm here every single night to put them to bed, read them a story. I give them breakfast every single morning. But like I said, like, I'm not going to say that it's an absolute peach. I just did a video about this recently about how, like, oh, it's amazing. No, it's not always because there are blurred lines that you need to get straightened out in terms of what is your time and what is your husband's time or your partner's time or your kids' time or whoever it is that's in your life and needs something from you. You need to, like, be able to separate that and be able to separate space as well, because what I was doing before is I was working on my bed because the kids were in the living room, and then I was getting backache, and it's not professional having like conversations with clients whilst just sitting on a bed and all these little things. But once you start to settle into a routine and it gets really clear, then it is literally like a dream in a lot of ways, because it's raining outside, I haven't got to go out into it, you know. And also my relationship with my kids is repairing. Like, I didn't even know it was broken until it started to heal. Like, my little boy runs to me just as much as he runs to dad now, and all these things. So it's it made me really emotional, but it's completely changed my life. And do I miss nursing? Not really. And I don't feel guilty about it, because I'm literally helping people to change their lives, and that is powerful.
So, and it's changing your children's lives at the same time, isn't it?
We're thinking, like, this summer we're either gonna go to Thailand for 3 weeks, or we're gonna drive from Barcelona down to the south of Spain, We haven't decided yet, but it's just that freedom to be able to do that. And yeah, I'll have my laptop with me, and yeah, I'll be still working, but I'll be able to do the bare minimum. And it gives me the freedom to be able to do that. I haven't got to take a 3-week sabbatical from work unpaid. Everything's still, it's the thing with this digital business is working around the clock, because you've got all these automated systems in place. Like, you don't need to be at the shop front selling the items. It's all running. Like, the robotic shopkeepers are there.
Yeah. That's true. That's very true. And it's interesting as you talk, Cordelia, because a lot comes up from me. So there's a lot in your conversation that is just triggering and firing off ideas and questions in me that I want to ask you. The one thing that came out of that, there was actually 3 things that came out of that. First of all, the video journey that you were on. Secondly, authenticity, but I'm going to get to those 2. I met you in Phoenix. That was quite hilarious, the way we did meet, because we didn't know each other at all, yet we were like 6 a.m. in the morning. Actually, share that story in Phoenix when you were locked out of your...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd just gone for a swim.
And, we're at a resort, right? We're at a resort.
It was lush. We were in this most beautiful hotel I think calling it a conference just makes it sound so dull. It's like the most incredible event ever. And it was like a 6-day event or something. And what I was doing was I was getting up and like being a mum of 3, like this is luxury. Like being able to just get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and go for a swim, like on my own. It was like, wow, it's like a new lease of life. But yeah, so I was going for a swim, but then what I did is I forgot to take my card with me. The time difference was really bad, like 10 hours or something, and so I hadn't really got much sleep during the night, and got up at 6 and went for a swim and locked myself out, and then was walking down to the lobby to get a new card whilst vlogging the situation on my phone, on a selfie stick, because you should never waste a crisis, guys. Never waste a crisis. Anyway.
Very true, right?
So true. So I was like, and then like I was walking this way and Trish was coming this way, and we're like walking together with our selfie sticks, like, oh hey, I'm filming too.
And we merged together. And you know what? We hadn't really even met each other, right? But I knew that you were part of that, event, because here you are. There's not many people walking around a resort at 6:30 in the morning with a selfie stick, and the 2 of us just merged together and became great friends really from that moment on, and have connected. We connected in Perth. We connected in London. We have the Dominican Republic that we are going to very, very soon. That's, in 4 weeks' time.
I'm so excited to be going to that with you.
How amazing is that going to be?
Yeah. I think I've been to every country you've been to, and you've been to every country I've been to in the last year.
It's true. It's true. It's incredible. It really is. And then, so Dominican Republic, you have the potential, we'll talk a little bit about that later, actually, the 10 for 10. You have the potential of qualifying.
I'll be there. I'll be there 100%.
And then I think there's North Carolina coming up. But I just want to go back and talk to you about your video journey. Now, your video journey was something that you volunteered, you put yourself through that process, and that was creating a video of some sort of content every single day, consistently for 90 days. You accomplished that. You're on the back of another one now. And it ties beautifully into authenticity. And you, I must say, you are the most authentic person that I have ever come across. And I think it has served you beautifully, brilliantly, with respect to building your online business. Would you agree? And just talk a little bit about that, the 90-day journey, authenticity, and how they sort of go hand in hand. And how do you develop that authenticity? Does it come naturally, or is it something that is developed?
Well, thanks, Trish. Well, like, I've always been not a very private person. I don't have any secrets, not of my own. You can trust me with your secrets, but with my own secrets, I can't trust myself. I don't have any. I'll talk about my life history with anyone if they want to know it. So that's never really been a struggle for me. However, when I joined that video journey, and like you say, it's 90 videos for 90 days, and it's a new environment. The first time around, it's a new environment, and the idea is you're supposed to be providing value, and you're supposed to be the kind of thing that you would talk to, the kind of videos that you would make for your audience. So, rather than, but also at the same time, it's just about getting used to being on camera. So there's not too much pressure on that. And my first video, I remember I was on a beach with my husband and my kids. And then my second video, see, this is what I mean. I just throw myself into these things. Doing my second video was me in a theme park, and I snuck the camera onto a load of rides. And did you see it?
That's
it was
great.
So funny. I snuck the camera onto a load of rides, and even went down like the water slide with my daughter and filmed it. And I remember there was this like really steep slide that I would never normally dare go on. I hate heights, and it was literally like you came out like that and then it dropped and went down, and it was just like a toboggan slide. And my husband filmed me, and I came down it going like screaming, like just like screaming the name of the academy, like as I went down the hill. Like it was so funny. And like I was talking to the guy in the queue as I was going up. We were just like, when you get talking to someone in a queue, and I was talking to him, I was like, oh yeah, this could be embarrassing because I'm gonna my husband's gonna film me doing this. I'm gonna shout something or whatever. And he was like, yeah, so I'm going to watch you. You go first. I want to see this. And it was really embarrassing. But I just forced myself out of that comfort zone and into the fire all the time. And even when it came to like doing my nursing, I used to hate having my blood taken. I used to really hate that. And in order to get myself out of that, I would force myself to watch the nurse taking blood from me. And after a while, I didn't care anymore. Because when you push yourself out of your comfort zone grows. And so you're comfortable doing a much bigger variety of things. And staying in your comfort zone means you're not growing. And I'm aware of that. So I really did go into the video challenge all in. I'm not going to be a perfect example of someone who was very, very sheepish and then found their way. However, I did have a lot of breakdowns during that video challenge. And the reason was because I felt like I had no value to share. Like I remember doing a video laying on the sofa being like, guys, I just feel like quitting right now. I don't know what to say. I'm not in the mood. Just like, I just don't know what to say. I can't think of anything. And so that was really difficult, finding my voice and finding my audience and what it is that I want to be saying. And I think that it's an ego thing. I know it's definitely an ego thing, because when you're talking to people at the same kind of knowledge level as you about stuff that they already know, you feel like an idiot, because you feel I always say you, but I mean me. I felt patronizing and didn't want to like teach people to suck eggs, and just, it just doesn't feel very, very nice. However, totally an ego thing. I've been here a few months now, nearly a year, and coming in the second time around, I'm a little bit more known in the community. I've spoken twice on stage. I'm running webinars. My confidence is building. I'm sending out loads of broadcasts to people on my list. I'm really involved in my business, and I know what is required to make this business tick. And I've learned a hell of a lot since the last video journey, and I've got a lot of value to share now. And so I feel much more confident in providing value to the people that are in the video journey. And I'm sure it's totally an ego thing, like because your ego beats you up because it doesn't want you to look silly. And then when you feel like you've got a bit more authority, like you feel much better doing it. I'm totally aware of that. I'm reading a really good book at the moment, actually, called Ego is the Enemy.
I'm going to write that down.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, that's good. That's awesome. Very good. Yeah, authenticity, it's an interesting, and I think it's one of the biggest parts of this journey. I think that you raised a word called authority, and that builds, doesn't it, over time? So really, authority is an important piece as well. And people are very fearful of that word authority because it's interesting, because I had a conversation yesterday. It was a coaching call with a member, and it was with respect to authority. And they'd been in the business for a few months, and they believed that they didn't have the authority to produce a website and to put this feeling or sense of that they are someone and they are already successful in an online business when they've just started. What they have to understand, it's a perception, right? It's a perception, because they are 2 months into her journey. She is steps and steps ahead of anyone that's coming into the business. You are an authority to someone that's just started. So I think that that's a really important point to know and to remember, that even if you're a week in the business, you can be an authority in this business because you are going through certain emotions, feelings, adjustments, changes. And these all can be communicated to anyone that's coming in day one as opposed to day 7. So I think the word authority, people think that, and I think that's our conditioning, our social conditioning with respect to being a professional, having a qualification, doing years of education and personal development. And I think authority is really just anyone that can potentially help and lead someone that's, you know, just starting in the business, or they could be 6 months down the track helping someone 2 months down the track. You're very humble. You're very humble. Like, it's humbling to hear you speak your message here on this video right now, because, and I think this really funnels into your authenticity. You remain very humble, and I think that's what connects people, and that's what moves people to you and your message. Staying humble, I think, is another really important part of the journey as well. You know, as you move and as you get successful and more successful, more revenue, more members, the potential of not staying grounded could be quite big, quite huge.
That's exactly what this book is about. Because exactly, leaders that gain a lot of success, your ego can quickly take over. And I think that's definitely something that we have to really, really consider. It's really great to read that book. That was a book recommended by one of our leaders in our community. But it's definitely right. Like, you know, you get successful, and then you can start being all very big-headed and arrogant and rude to your staff, and, you know, oh, don't bother me with telephone calls to normal people in society. Very dramatic.
It's true. It's true.
Like, you know, like, why you bother? Arrogance is something that I hate, but I can understand how it builds. Absolutely. And I find myself battling with it now a little bit, because I'll be going to meetups and stuff, and people are coming up to me and saying hi, and I have no idea who they are, you know, and I feel really bad about that. And it can be really easy to start thinking that you're something bigger than everyone else and putting yourself on a different level. And I'm not doing that, but I can just see how easy it is to do that, you know.
Yeah, that's very true. That is very true. And I just want to sort of say to you that in all of my journey with you and what I've seen and shared with you, you've always remained very humble. And that's all comes back to your level of authenticity. I think it's awesome. Your business is a huge success now. It's really starting to create incredible inroads for you. I just think it's amazing. We see and share and celebrate in your success, which is what I love as well. There is a qualification process as well that you can actually put yourself through. You can sort of go through an application process with respect to qualifying based on certain revenue earned and based on certain members achieved. And you are most definitely there for that qualification process. How does that feel?
It feels awesome. I'm not quite at level 1 yet, but I'm really, really close. And it feels like, you know, I guess the thing is that having stuck my teeth into this for the last 6 months, and really I've cut things out. I've changed my way of living in order to accommodate this. And I didn't have much spare time anyway with nursing and kids, but I don't watch TV. I don't really go out and socialize anymore. You know, money that I used to spend on, you know, I just bought some clothes for the first time in a year the other day, and I've really kind of prioritized the business, put the business first, because it's short-term pain for long-term gain. Once it's set up and it's running, I have freedom. And if it takes me 5 years to set that up in order to get 10 years or more of freedom, then damn, I'm going to give it a good go. Like, it's worth it. It's so worth it. So I've just had my teeth stuck in for the past 6 months, to the point where I haven't seen my mother-in-law since Christmas. I haven't seen my friends since before Christmas. I went up to London to see a friend that I hadn't seen in a year. I just recently went and bought some clothes, like only 3 items of clothing, but it was the first time I'd spent any money on myself in such a long time. And it feels like validation. It feels like, yes, it's working. It's paying off. And also for the people around me, I've got people that are not talking to me because they think I've cut myself off from them. You know, family members have been upset with me because they think that I don't care about them anymore. It's not the case. I'm trying to change my family's life, and I need to prioritize it. Building a business is not easy, ever. But actually, there's a really good saying that I put on my Instagram when I first started this journey, because your family members are always going to be skeptical. Online business equals scam, always, you know, in connotations for people that don't actually know what they're talking about. It's the first thought that comes to your mind. And so, you know, my dad to this day, he's just like, what is it that you're doing? I'm like, Dad, I've told you 10 times, seriously. But the phrase is, at first they ask you why you're doing it, and then they ask you how you're doing it. And I love that phrase so much, because it's so true. Like, I've got a friend of my husband's who is always like been so argumentative, and like it's just like, oh, just take your negativity somewhere else, because I'm done with it now. Like, after 10 hours of trying to persuade you that this is an actual tangible business. And the other day, when he realised I've been getting results and everyone's been celebrating for me and whatever, and we've been, you know, he came around with my brother-in-law to babysit, and he didn't have a negative word to say. He had completely changed his tune. Yeah. And it's so interesting. It's so interesting. But it's great, because at the beginning of this journey, you are fighting everyone around you that is trying to pick at it and go, you know, and it can just be so overwhelming, and just feel like, just let me get on with it. I believe in myself. I believe in the process, you know. And then once you start to make those results, and the business starts to become a business on paper, in an Excel spreadsheet, then they start to leave you alone. And that is awesome.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I've experienced that too. There's a bit of a transition, isn't there, with your family and friends. All of a sudden, things start to fall into place with respect to that. And they start to take what you're doing very, very seriously. Because do you think it's all around the change that they see in you, the change in your personality, the change in your direction, the change in your actually purpose? And you've been through a branding process, haven't you, Cordelia? Yeah, you've been through a branding process. So that sort of leads me into your purpose.
I have changed massively.
Yeah.
Hugely. A friend of mine, in fact, I'll show you a picture. This is how long I've known this friend.
Gorgeous.
That's when we were 3. But she came around the other day. She lives in Cambridge. We don't see each other that often. Well, she's actually moved to Oxford, but she used to live in Cambridge. And she said to me, you know, Corky, it's really strange. Like, you're still as busy as you've ever been. Like, you're still doing way too much. Like, you've got the kids, you've got the business, you're always on your phone, you're always on the laptop. There was so much going on. But you used to be manic, and now you're really calm, and there's like a peace about you.
Wow.
And I was powerful. Like, yeah, incredibly powerful.
That's perfect. And as I listened to your conversation throughout this whole call, what highlights to me, because you've been through the branding process, right? Yeah. Okay. So it's an awesome experience for those listening that haven't been through a branding process. We have an expert, someone that's very proficient, JJ, in the process of extracting from you information, background, story that really makes you tick or makes you who you are today. And he has a very powerful process of doing that. It's quite incredible. Now, what's highlighted for me throughout this whole conversation is your just get stuck in, bite into it, get it done, all in, diving in. I took the big leap from that big, dipper, down that water slide. I'm just, that's who I am. Throughout this whole conversation has been sprinkled with these words of affirmation that really highlight how incredible you are with respect to those qualities that you don't realize yourself that you have them. And what I love about this process is where they take you through that journey and pull out exactly who you are to develop a purpose statement around that. Did you connect
Absolutely.
with your purpose statement?
I haven't done my purpose statement yet, but with the values were mind-blowing enough, because I remember actually thinking this very thought when I came in and I was on a webinar. It was like one of the first webinar I'd been on, and it was a long one, like 3 hours long, the orientation call. And I was on and I was quite excited after the orientation call, because I was like, wow, this company is like aligned with my values. And I remember thinking that. So I must have known something about values, is what I'm saying. And I knew that my values were like family and like, being like caring and all that kind of stuff. But I challenge anybody that hasn't been through a branding process to sit down and give me your 10 top values. It's very, very difficult. It's more difficult than you think, because there's a lot more involved than you would expect. It's about really finding out who you are, like from birth, like now.
Exactly.
And it's a process, as you said. It's a branding process. And actually, sometimes you can't see the values in yourself, as you said, and having a coach to help you pick those values out and listen to you and who you are and what you're about and what your history is, in order to really pluck out, those values that you've got. There are some on there that I wouldn't have even recognized, necessarily, if I'd have sat down. Because generally, if you sit down on your own, you'd probably pick out things that you think sound really nice, like you might pick out that, yeah, I'm compassionate, we'll have compassion, and we'll have this, and we'll have, oh yeah, that sounds nice, and whatever. But actually, they may not be your actual values. You may have just plucked them out of thin air.
Because they sound great, sound great, and that's a good thing to put out there. However, when you independence was one that I didn't properly recognize until going through that branding process. Independence is right up there, number one, and didn't even, financial freedom, you sort of skirt around, choice, opportunity, some of these that you value. Independence was really up there. So a lot of my journey, a lot of the adversity that has been created throughout my life, independence has really come through as that thing that I value so much because of these adversities that have happened.
And I bet when you got that and you looked back on stuff that you've done, it went,
true, totally,
because
completely fell into place.
My top value is freedom, right? And I was like running away as a teenager. I left school at 13 and all this stuff, like. And it's quite interesting to actually look back and link up those dots.
Do you know what? I'm just going to interrupt very briefly here because I wanted to dig, right? I'm just going to dig very quickly because I know we're getting to sort of the top of the hour. But for some reason before this interview, I wanted to talk about your childhood. For some reason, something inside of me intuitively was sort of saying that there's similarities, there's parallels between your childhood and my childhood with respect to, and you've just nailed it just then. You left school at 13, I left school at 15. I was rather rebellious. I floated between good people and I floated between very bad people. I was a mixer. I could mix with whoever, but I never really floated with one particular group. However, there was some instability in me, and it was this rebelliousness, that just wanting to stand out, wanting to be different, wanting to be significant. Was there anything ringing true for you with what I'm saying at all?
Yeah, absolutely. But for me, it was more that I wanted to fit in. So quite the opposite. The mixing with lots of different people, yes, absolutely. But I never really fitted in. I was a half child in terms of my mum and dad. My dad had a previous marriage with 3 children that actually lived in Australia. The mum of those children lived in Australia for a long time. But anyway, he had 3 children, and he's 20 years older than my mum. And my mum had me. My mum's the same age as my sisters and my brother, and so I've got 8 nieces and nephews from the time of birth. No, that's not true. No, my eldest nephew was born at the same time as me, and then they were all born afterwards. That's completely not true. I just completely made that up. But anyway, so but I was born with 1 nephew, and then by the time, like, I've got 8 nieces and nephews from those brothers and sisters now. But I remember there was one time I remember being a kid, and my nephew called me half auntie, and so so there was always this thing. I was the half sister. There was this family, and they were all whole, and it doesn't matter, but and it didn't really bother me at the time, but it sort of probably had something subconscious. I don't know, but so I always wanted to fit in, and I never really did fit in. My mum was very poor. She split up with my dad when I was a baby, like 1 or something, and we were really quite poor. Like we were sofa surfing sometimes. She used to get my clothes out of charity bins sometimes. We were just hard up, and we used to eat a lot of soup. I remember that. But it was great. Like, she always did her best for me. Like she was a great mum. Like, she really was. But at school, again, because we didn't have a uniform, so I stood out, and I got really badly bullied by this awful family who even threw milk bottles at my house. Even got my stepdad bludgeoned by a builder by crying rape when there was nothing going on, just to cause some drama. Like, really, really awful times. And I never fitted in. And then what happened was I started skiving school, and I was hanging out with a bunch of kids that didn't go to school. And
me too.
They were great. Like, I was accepted in that group, and I still connect with some of them now. Like, we're very, very distant, like, and not very often, but I haven't got a bad word to say about any of them, really. We did do some really bad stuff, and they weren't necessarily, the great crowd. And they're why I left school at 13, and hanging around with those guys was, but like I say, I'm never in a position where I look back and I want to change stuff. Like, I wouldn't go back and change any of that. It happened. In fact, I'd like to go back just for one day, just to be that crazy 13-year-old roaming the streets again. It was fun, But
and I was the same. I was exactly the same. There is parallels, and it was to fit in, because I was an immigrant. I'd emigrated from the UK to Australia, and for me to fit in, I was 11 years of age. I hit high school at a very young age, and I was the girl with the long socks and the long uniform, and the Australian girls had all their little short socks and their short uniforms. And I had my black school shoes. They had their trendy jogger, desert boots, what they call them. And so behind all that facade was someone wanting to fit in. And by year 9, by about you're at 14, I was not going to school. I was truanting school because I obviously was struggling to fit in, even though felt like popularity, it wasn't. And it didn't feel at ease at all, and I wasn't fitting in. So isn't that interesting? So I know And I was roaming the streets, and I was hanging out with kids that didn't go to school. I was hanging out with kids that were older, and, you know, but I wouldn't change that. It's made me who I am today, and you're exactly the same. It's given you a certain resilience and resourcefulness. It's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
It's interesting. I should have asked that at the very beginning of the interview. My intuition. You've got to trust your intuition and your gut, because there was something about that. And there was something interesting else that came out of this interview as well, because when you were talking about your dad being quite wealthy, from a wealthy background, and your mum coming from a more poorer background, what shot into my mind, we've all read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. You know, it could be Rich Dad, Poor Mum. That could potentially be like quite an incredible branding, right, out of that process, because we talk about the adversities that happen in life, and they make us who we are today. And that's, I think, a really powerful story. And I'm glad that I asked those questions, and I'm glad I did follow my gut and intuition, because the interview went there, right? So that was good. I've learned a lot about you. One last question, very quick question. I ask this of everyone of this interview. Where, it's a very big question, where do you see yourself or your business in 5 years' time?
Oh, 5 years. I thought you were going to say a year. 5 years' time, I will have, and I'm very much manifesting, 5 years' time, I will have a very successful affiliate marketing business that is just ticking over in the background. Whilst me and the kids are traveling the world, I really, really want to just pick up my kids and take them traveling around the world. I want them to see, feel, hear, taste culture, rather than just learn about it through the television, just learn about it through school. My daughter comes home and she's like, "Mum, we've been learning about penguins today." I'm like, wouldn't it be cool if we just go and see penguins? Like, go for a trip. Just a day trip. I couldn't be in that snow for too long, but just go for a day trip and go and like, or do these things. Like, I really want her to have all three of them, but she's the oldest, so she always gets the mention. But I really want all three of them to really have a very well-rounded, cultured upbringing. And I want them to look back on their childhood and go, wow, that was great. Like, I want to go back. I want to do that again. Wasn't that awesome? I'm probably just, you know, that's probably a big ask, but in 5 years' time, you know, there'll be no looking back. I will definitely have made it, and I will be living life to the fullest. Who knows? Might even have a helicopter.
Good. And I want to ask you too about part of that process is when you said about being a powerful manifester. Questions to the universe. Your tip to people at home.
Yeah.
Questions to the universe. What's your tip? And what's the story behind that?
Get a notebook and write a question to the universe. Shut the notebook, put it down, and it just answers it.
And that's true, right? That's true.
Seriously, I've got. Yeah, I mean, I used to write down, because I was very, very depressed, and then I discovered Abraham Hicks, and she pulled me out of this depression. And so it's been like a year and a half now, since December 2016, that I've really been like concentrating on watching the law of attraction work around me. And the questions to the universe is a fairly new thing that I've come across, like that I discovered in the last few months. I used to write down, like, you know, what I wanted from life, like what I wanted to manifest next. But by writing what you want, you are highlighting to the universe that you haven't got that yet, because you're saying, I haven't got this, but I want it. So then I started to write down things as if they'd already happened, and it seemed to be a bit more effective. And then I heard someone talking about questions, and now what I do is I ask the universe direct, open-ended questions, like, how can I work exclusively from home? How can I be in a position, should I just have a look? I can't remember what the other ones were.
They're great.
how can I have my website up and running by tomorrow? How can I... that's not the right ones. But anyway, I wrote down a load of questions basically, and within like a week, like big questions, like huge ones, like I'm talking like thousands of dollars. I'm talking a whole career change. I'm talking not having to go to the hospital. I'm pointing over there because I live on the same street as hospital. It's only over there. Not having to go to the hospital anymore to do 13-hour shifts. Like literally within a week of writing those questions, my whole world changed. It was like crazy. And I know I'd been building up to that moment anyway, but I'm all about people reaching out to me and going, Cordelia, do you want to manage all of my social media for my business? And things like having a massive sale coming in, and stuff like that. That's just really helped me to just turn a huge corner. And now I am literally officially living a mumsy laptop lifestyle.
That is brilliant, right? A mumsy laptop lifestyle. And that's just, and it's true, right? Within weeks, in some cases, you've manifested due to writing out that question. And I've done the same here. So I've, as a result of your video that you shared, and as a result of our conversation, started to write down questions in here too. How can I? And so I just think it's a great tip. I think it's a great tip for any community member, and it's a great tip for anyone that's watching this. How can they manifest, so powerfully and so quickly? And that's to ask questions of the universe.
Absolutely. And there's one step better than that, which is what I'm going to do. I like to have a new notepad for everything. So when I get a new notepad, I will literally be writing one question at the top of the page, and I'm going to let the universe fill the rest of the page with some incredible answers. Like instead of writing loads and loads of questions, like just one question on each page and leave a big blank space for it to be answered. And I think like psychologically, that will be even more powerful than just asking a question. So we'll see.
I agree. That's awesome. We'll do a follow-up on that one. It's just awesome.
We will.
All right. Well, this has been an absolute pleasure. I want to say thank you. Thank you so much. You have been a pleasure to interview. The questions, the flow of questions, the flow of ideas, the flow of inspiration that was coming from me while we were talking was incredible. It does help to know each other. But it helps more so the fact that you're such an incredible person to interview, the inspiration that was coming out of that. And I can imagine the inspiration that viewers are going to get from this whole conversation. I could keep talking to you for hours to find out more and more about who you are, what makes you tick, and how you've built such a successful online business so far. So Wonder Woman comes to mind. Mumsy for your children it's just so powerful what you're doing for your family, for your future, and for those around you. You're providing so much value. I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time. This is huge for people to get some insight into your success. Thank you, Cordelia.
Thank you, Trish. It's been great. It's been great to catch up with you as well. Oh, you're such a very good interviewer, actually. You make me feel very comfortable. And actually you inspired me to put a bit more effort into my own interviews.
That's good. Well, that's good. That's nice. So I'm an inspiration. You're an inspiration. We're an inspirational pair. That's awesome. Love it. All right. So over and out here from Australia and from Oxford in the UK. Bye, everyone.